In today's video, we're going to talk about hand position. Whether you're on the inside, the middle distance, or on the outside, you should know what your options are when your hands are in different positions in relation to your opponent. If you know these things and you can pull the trigger quickly instead of having to workshop and improv your way through this problem, you'll have more success more quickly when you fight. Helping us with today's video is going to be Tri-State Golden Glove champion Tristan. Let's talk broadly first. What are your options? When you are on the top or outside of your opponent's hand, you can hang on them, you can exit over their arm, and you can strike to the head. When you are under or inside of your opponent's hand, you can strike to the body, you can lift them up, and you can exit under the arm. Let's talk about what this looks like at the different ranges of boxing. So let's begin on the outside, where you and your opponent are both at a distance where you can't hit each other. You're hand playing. Let's go to a really common occurrence where this happens, and that's in an open exchange where one of the fighters is a southpaw. Very frequently in these open exchanges, because when we both jab, we run into each other's hand, there ends up being a lot of physicality here, a lot of hand play. Okay, some people refer to this as trapping distance, all right? Usually, as we go around, we're gonna take turns. Sometimes somebody will be on top, sometimes the other person will be on top, and you gotta recognize the kind of hierarchy of hand position here and what your options are. So let's talk. When your hand is on top, you've got a couple options here. The first thing is you should be trying to hit the head, all right? Your hand is nearer to your opponent's head than their hand is. You're gonna be able to get there and hit them before they're able to pull their hand back and defend. The next thing you can do from this position is you can hang on your opponent. Because their guard, their arm isn't glued tightly to their body, you're likely not gonna break their posture, but you can hang on their arm and either pull them down or create a bigger opportunity to attack or exit through. Your final option, in addition to hitting the head, to hanging on your opponent, is recognizing that your hand is not only on top, but it is elbow side of your opponent, and you can freely exit to your closed side without fear of running into their offense. If you've got the bottom position here, then you have the opportunity to hit the body. If I try to hit him in the head, because his hand's on top, he's gonna snap his hand back more quickly than I can get to his head. But if I shoot for the body, he's not gonna be able to get that elbow in time to protect himself to the body. And especially as the orthodox fighter in this situation, the southpaw's liver side is forward, you can jab them right in the liver, take advantage of this disadvantage of theirs. If you're on the bottom, you can also lift this person's arm up, all right? You can either use this to pull them out of position if they're really stiff, or to create opportunities to throw other bigger punches, okay? And your final option, as well as being able to hit to the body, being able to lift this person up, is recognize that if you're gonna exit, you have to exit under their arm. This is where we're starting our journey, and these principles are gonna stay true at all different distances of the sport. So moving into the middle distance, these same principles apply. If my hand is on top of my opponent's, I'm gonna be able to hit them to the head. I'm gonna be able to hang on them and either drag their guard down, or if they're holding that really tightly, I can break their whole posture with this. And if my hand's on top or on the outside, I'm gonna be able to exit over the arm. This plays out whether I'm on top of their glove or whether I'm on top of their forearm like this. On top of their forearm, I can still hit the head, I can still hang on them, and I can still exit elbow side. Because Coach is a short pressure fighter, I spend a lot of time talking about catch and pitch work. Because I'm moving into range behind my high guard, guys are gonna be throwing shots at my guard. I harp a lot on when somebody throws a shot at you, you are now inside of their defenses to be able to attack. But it's important to remember that if you're the one throwing the shot, you are now outside of their offenses. So how does this play out? So if I take the lead here and I throw the hook at Tristan and he blocks it, again, he is inside of my defenses. But I have a baked-in exit strategy here where I am outside of his offenses. When I throw my punch and he blocks it, there is nothing in this space that he can hit me with. I am holding his hand to his head. I am on top, I am outside, and I can move over the arm freely. When we're in the middle distance, if I'm the guy who has his hand underneath, just like on the outside, I can lift, I can exit under the arm, and I can hit to the body. So a position that ends up happening very, very frequently is somebody will adopt a half guard position. If I'm here, my hand is underneath my opponent. I can lift them up out of their base. I can attack the body because I'm nearer to the body than their top hand is. And I can lift and I can exit under the arm, just like if we were catching and pitching. So if Tristan throws a hook at me and I block it, it's safe for me to exit either by levering up or just by stepping through underneath the arm. So you can see from this position, I'm on the inside and under Tristan's hand. Tristan is on the outside and over my hand. My options are to hit the body, are to lift him up out of base, and would be to exit under his arm. His options as the person on top are to hit me in the head, bang, are to hang on me and pull me out of position and pull my hand down, and to exit over the top of my hand. Moving into our final distance, we've gone from the outside to the middle distance to the inside, and now let's talk about clinch range, where all of these principles and positions still apply. So you folks remember from our previous videos, the two arm positions you have when you're clinching are overhooks and underhooks. If you have an underhook, you can work the same way we've talked before. You're under the arm, you can hit the body, you can lift them up, and you can exit under their arm. So if I'm in here with an underhook, it's important to remember that if you have an underhook, your opponent has an overhook. If you have an overhook, your opponent has an underhook. So with this underhook, if I can create space, I can hit to the body. I can use this underhook to lift this person up out of base and out of position so they're less of a threat to me. And I can use this underhook to wing their arm out so that I can exit under the arm. So like I said, if I have the underhook, that means my opponent, Tristan here, has the overhook. So from the overhook, he can hit me in the head, boom, all right? He can hang on me and pull me out of position, good. And he can exit over my arm. Now, this exit over my arm plays out in an interesting manner because I've got my hand on his back here. He can exit over my arm, and if I go limp arm, go ahead, then my arm's just gonna turn through and he's gonna get that exit as he usually does. But my wrestlers, my MMA fighters, anybody who's watched Mike Tyson versus Francois Botha knows that if I try to fight him, he has me in a position called a whizzer, where he is levering against the line of my elbow. So if we see this again, he goes to exit, go ahead, slow, and I try to fight. If I try to fight him, he's got me in a really good position, and he's the one who's gonna get the better of this. He's the one who can take me along for the ride. If he wants to spin me and move me, he's in charge here until I relinquish my underhook. So, we've talked about how with an underhook, I can lift my opponent, and with an overhook, I can hang on my opponent. This means that whenever you are trying to spin somebody from these positions, you wanna move in alignment with your fists. All right, if I have an underhook here and an overhook here, I'm gonna spin this person counterclockwise if I want to maneuver them. If I were to switch this, I would spin them clockwise if I wanted to maneuver them. Don't fight against these inborn mechanics, use them to your advantage. So if I'm demoing this, underhook means I lift, overhook means I pull, and it's very, very easy for me to spin Tristan clockwise. If we switch here, underhook means lift, overhook means pull, and it's very easy for me to turn Tristan counterclockwise. When you're trying to steer somebody into a corner or onto the ropes, make sure that you understand this concept. Let's say that I've established double underhooks on my opponent and I want to move him, okay? With double underhooks, I don't want to try to pull my opponent, because if I'm pulling them back into their toes. Their ability to resist being pulled forward is still there. But if I can lift them up up high into their base and onto their toes, they don't have the leg to be able to stick behind them and stop me from going chest out and walking them backwards. So when you have double underhooks, you want to push your opponent so that their chest goes over their hips and they're stuck walking backwards to where you want them. If I've got double overhooks, I'm gonna really struggle to push my opponent backwards, all right? Instead, I wanna hang on him, break his posture forward over his hips and drag him, pull him into the position that I want. If I try to hang on him and push backwards, that only bolsters his back leg, and it's gonna be really hard for me to win this fight. But if I drop down and back and forward like this, then his posture's broken, and it's gonna be easy for me to pull him into a bad position. So, with these principles in mind, let's talk about two very special positions that give you extra advantage while applying these techniques. The first position is control of the elbow. Elbow control is a really special technique because when I have the elbow, it's really easy for me to transition between being under somebody's arm and over somebody's arm. I'm not gonna easily get into a position where I'm on top or inside, but from under, I can lift up and create opportunities to hit the body. And from over, I always have a quick exit that I can take, or I can snap off a shot to the head if the person tries to pull their hand under my hand. The other thing that makes the elbow such a great point of contact is that I can hold the elbow without letting this person have easy access to my head. I can hold the elbow while hiding behind their arm, which creates a really nice locking mechanism here and almost completely takes their hand out of play. If they try to pull the hand down for an uppercut or to hit me in the body, I can just ride that arm down with this pincer between my head, my shoulder, and my hand. The other kind of like game-breaking, highly advantageous position is the bicep tie. This is an extremely sought-after position in Muay Thai kickboxing when the clinch is such a valuable part of their game, and in boxing it is equally as advantageous. This starts by me getting my hand inside of my opponent's hand and then catching on to their upper arm, their bicep right here. The reason this is such an advantageous position is because with my hand, I'm on top and I can pull and I can hit the head. And with my elbow, I'm on bottom and I can lift and I can create opportunities to exit under the arm and take them out of position. So I have a foot in both worlds. I am the day walker of hand play when I have the bicep tie position, and it gives me a lot of options. You may remember us discussing the value of this technique in our advanced infighting video in reference to Jack Johnson. A broad strokes review here. If your hand is on top or outside of your opponent's, then you can hang on them, you can hit the head, and you can exit over their arm. If your hand is under or inside of your opponent's, you can hit the body, you can lift them up out of position, you can exit through them or under the arm. Obviously, there are some exceptions to this. Obviously, in other martial arts where you're allowed to spin and elbow, you'll find different applications for these techniques. But if you can understand these principles and apply them to your game with a little bit of know-how and understanding of positioning, you're gonna have vastly more success and you're gonna do much better at every range when you fight.
We're rolling.
I was breathing in and everything.